Just when you think the Mets can't hit, they put up 11 runs, yet they suddenly can't pitch. Every win is an adventure for the Mets right now. We'll be discussing that, the bullpen, Alvarez's multi-home run game, and the return of Jose Quintana. Today's edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Swing for the fences on sleeper picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Well, Mets get a win. Barely. Same thing I said after the win on Sunday. They won a game. Barely. You take them how you can get them. If you look at their last 10 games now, what is that? 8 of 10 they have won. Pretty good stretch for your New York Mets. And I even saw a stat today about the Mets pitching in the month of July where they were top 3 in team ERA and starter ERA. Well, I guess that both got tanked in this one. This is a really strange game to break down because on one hand, look up and down the lineup, right? Tommy Pham, great day, got on base 4 times, scored 3 runs, had an RBI. He looked really good. Lindor and Alonso, not the best days, but they each drove in a run. Jeff McNeil, 2 RBI hits, great to see. Scored a run on an Alvarez homer. Alvarez, speaking of him, 3rd multi-home run game of his rookie season. Awesome. Beatty and him went back-to-back at one point. That was in the first inning when the Mets put up 5 runs. An incredible start, right? Top of the first. They don't give up anything. Tommy Pham, second batter of the game. He drives in Brandon Nimmo with a double. Nimmo had drawn a leadoff walk. You're already on the board. Pete Alonso drives in Pham with a sac fly. Then you get a 2-run homer from Alvarez, then the home run from Beatty, and you're sitting pretty. But in a game where you put up 5 runs in the first inning, every single out seemed to be hard to get. Carrasco gives up a home run in the second, but not too bad. The Mets get it right back on an RBI double from Lindor in the second inning. Third inning gives up another on RBI double to Tim Anderson. No worse for wear. Mets are okay, sitting 6-2. That score holds until the bottom of the fourth when DJ Stewart gets in the mix. He hits a home run. Mets up 7-2. Jeff McNeil gets his first of 2 RBI hits in that inning, 8-2. And yet, it became an absolute adventure and a slog to get the final 15 outs of the game. 15? 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, yes. 15. As you've all who've been listening to the show for a while know, math not my strong suit. Anyway, Carlos Carrasco can't get out of the 5th. And here's the problem again. You don't get length from your starters. You run into issues, particularly when your bullpen is this bad. Give credit to Grant Hartwig early. Got through the rest of that 4th inning, got an out, comes in, gets a big strikeout, bails him out of the jam. Awesome. Mets don't score in the 5th. 1, 2, 3 for Hartwig in the 6th. Now they try to get a little bit cute. They try to get through another inning with Grant Hartwig, particularly because the Mets went out and they put up 3 more runs. 2 of them on an Alvarez homer. So you're sitting 11-4 and you think, all right, let's try to get Hartwig through another one. And I'm not going to be Mr. Criticize the manager, though I do like guys getting clean innings. I'd rather Trevor Gott not have to come into the game with 2 runners on, but I see what he's doing. He's already burned Hartwig a little bit. He's a long man type in that bullpen. You want to get, another inning out of him if you can, but gives up a couple of runners, still strikes out Luis Robert. So even though Hartwig ends up with 2 runs on his ledger, I think he was one of the best relievers in this game. And that's just a commentary on this Mets bullpen because Trevor Gott, the guy you just acquired from the Mariners, has not looked good. And look, when they got him, I didn't say he was going to fix everything. What I said was it was a guy that was worth the flyer, and the Mets bought a reliever. And you hope he was the guy he was before his injury this year. We had the back spasms. Since he's come back from this injury, he has not pitched good. And it's not to say that's the injury that's causing it, but he has not found his rhythm yet. And you wonder if he's going to find in a Mets uniform, or if he can get caught up in that vortex where you start to backslide in New York, and new team, you start to struggle, and you can never find it. And it was awful for Trevor Gott. Again, it starts, I do have to say, with the play that should have been made. Brett Beatty fields a grounder, throws to second base instead of first. You could have had a second out in that spot. You can knock Beatty for not being in the play and not seeing that the play was the first but the second. But I also think, where are the veterans in that infield? And look, I wasn't down there. I didn't hear what was going on. Maybe they were screaming 1-1-1 and nobody and Beatty didn't pick up on it. But in a spot like that, when it ended up being a bang play at second, maybe some of the veteran leadership has to call out to throw to first base there. Regardless, that play doesn't get made. All of a sudden, God gives up a double, gives up a base hit, then another hit. And all of a sudden, you have to go to Brooks Raley. And a game where you scored 11 runs, and Raley walks a batter, throws a pass ball, or they call it a pass ball, on Alvarez, and now it's 11-9. And luckily, he got a big strikeout, got a fly out, did his job, got you out of the inning. Adam Ottavino actually looked pretty decent, got 3 ground balls. And David Robertson was able to hang on in that final inning, but he threw a lot of pitches. And all of a sudden, here you are again. You burned probably Robertson for the second game of the series. That's not great for you. I don't know if Adam Ottavino is going to go 2 days in a row, Brooks Raley. I don't know who's going to be available. Who didn't pitch in this game? Well, Dominic Leone and Drew Smith. I think that's about it. Leone, Smith, looking through the rest of this roster. Yeah, that's it. Gott went, Hartwig went. You use 5 relievers. And Peterson, I guess, is a reliever now. So Peterson's another option. How good do you feel going into tomorrow with your free, fresh relievers being Drew Smith, David Peterson, and Dominic Leone? And that's the state of the Mets. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Just how you get through this series with this bullpen the way it is, how you can possibly build a sustained winner. And I also want to shower Francisco Alvarez a little more praise. So we're going to get to all of that in the next segment. Before we do, today's episode is brought to you by Dave. Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less, no credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash TM account. Advance the money you need with no interest and then settle up later. Extra cash gives you more money to buy groceries, to fill your tank, to finally get your car repaired or catch up on bills without having to wait for your next paycheck. You can even build credit when you settle up on time. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to make their finances easier. So if you're in a pinch, get the help you need by downloading Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/MLB. That's dave.com/MLB. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/MLB. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. The New York Mets play the Chicago White Sox again at 7 Eastern time tonight. Catch every pitch of the Mets' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Mets. Right now, this bullpen is rocky, and it's been rocky for most of this season, and it really does go back to the Edwin Diaz injury and just maybe a failure from the offset to build a competent bullpen. They were really counting on Edwin to be the best closer in baseball again, and if he was, it really did set everything in line. And I don't want to just completely knock Billy Epler, because going into spring training, if you told most of us that you had a healthy Edwin Diaz, Brooks Raley, Adam Ottavino, and David Robertson, that's 4 really good relievers. And they were hoping that Drew Smith, coming off a good season last year, would be that fifth reliever they can trust. Epler said that multiple times. We wanted to have 5 relievers we could trust and leverage, essentially. And then they went more towards optionality with their other relievers. And what happened here is you lose Diaz, Robertson, and Ottavino haven't been guys you could trust and leverage. And then all of a sudden, all those optionality relievers, well, now they're cycling through all of them and they can't find any that stick. And you could say help would be on the way if the Mets were contenders at the deadline, or even if they're 6 out. I could see the Mets holding on to their relievers, trading Tommy Pham, and still bringing on a reliever. I could see them doing something like that because I don't think they want to give up on this season. I do think they might want to cash some prospects. I could see them, as I said before, buying some, selling some. But who are you buying? I mentioned, I have a whole podcast. It was after the Trevor Gott trade about similar trades they could make of buying relievers with salary, taking on Lyles from the Royals to get Scott Barlow, or taking on Steven Matz to get Jordan Hicks. I don't know if those trades will be made. Those are relievers that are so good that these teams might want to focus on prospect capital for return if they do flip them. And if you can't get a guy that good, who are you getting? Is it Joe Kelly, who's in that other dugout right now for the White Sox, a guy that's getting paid, I think it's $9 million? Someone that you could probably acquire just by taking all the salary on and maybe throwing a flyer prospect back. That's all fine and good. But is there every chance that Joe Kelly is going to be Trevor Gott for the Mets? Absolutely. And that's where you ultimately need the guys you came into the season trusting to be there. And the biggest one is Adam Ottavino to me. If you get Adam Ottavino to be the guy he was last year, or even the guy he's been over the last 30 days, which is a guy who's pitched to a 2.70 ERA in 10 innings. That's not bad. 3 earned runs. Of course, you'd prefer for it to be better, but look, there's not a lot of good options right now, so you'll take that. If he can pitch and leverage along with Robertson, Raley, all right, maybe you're starting to get somewhere. Now, Drew Smith over the last 30 days has only pitched in 6 2/3, and he has a 5.40 ERA. Not great. The guy that's actually been pretty decent is Grant Hartwick. 3.29 ERA, has pitched the most innings out of that bullpen, 13 2/3. David Peterson, could he possibly be a reliever you like? I don't know. His numbers over the last 30 days are pretty good. It's 2.76 ERA, 16 strikeouts, and 16 1/3. But he's also given up 15 hits and he's walked 9. So I don't know. And then honestly, the starting pitching, like look at the 4 starters over this last month. And I'm not sure if this at MLB.com has updated for this past start for Carlos Carrasco because it has him with a 3.32 ERA over 4 starts. Let me look at the last 4 starts he's made. Maybe that does include today's. So it was 2 earned run over 4, 2 earned run over 5, and then he had the 8 scoreless. So maybe the 8 scoreless does lower enough. So that is actually what he throws. 3.32 ERA last 4 starts. Verlander's 2.70 his last 5 starts. Doesn't feel like it, right? But it's actually been pretty decent. Scherzer, 3.32 ERA in 6 starts, and Senga, 2.22 ERA. The rotation has to carry you, and that's where the return of Jose Quintana could be very pivotal for this Mets team. We're going to close the show with that one. But look, with Verlander on the hill here, game 2 of this series, you need a vintage Verlander start, which is something we've said all the time. The aces are the aces. Hey, this team can go on a run. Well, here's another opportunity for it. If Justin Verlander can give you 7, all right. Well, now you just got to figure out 2 innings. And maybe Adam Ottavino can go again. Maybe Brooks Raley can go again. I don't know if Robertson's going to go again with how many pitches he threw. But when you go into this next game where the 3 guys who are rested in your bullpen is Drew Smith, Dominic Leone, and David Peterson, that leaves a lot of cause for concern. And that's why when you have an 11 to whatever the score was again, it was 11-4 lead, you need to do better with it. And a lot of that's on Carrasco. If Carrasco gets you through 6 and Hartwig gets you through the 7th and 8th, who knows? could be a completely different ball game. But Cookie faltered, and then it all fell by the wayside. And that's what concerns me is I don't know if you're going to get a very similar pitcher in Jose Quintana as what you're seeing in Carlos Carrasco. So we're going to discuss that next. Before we do, today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Want the chance to win more money with less picks? Head to Sleeper, where you can win up to 100 times your money on just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. Sleeper is now offering up to 100 times payout for up to 8 pick contests, where you can choose as many as 8 players that you like and pick more or less on your favorite baseball stats like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Get your picks right and you can win big. So let's just say with Shohei Ohtani on the heater he's at right now, pick him in a home run. You can do that. You could pick Luis Ariz also to get multiple hits. And maybe with the match you like Justin Verlander strikeouts. You can combine them all in one contest and win big. So if you want to try Sleeper, head to Sleeper right now. Use promo code Locked On. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Entries can be made in 30 seconds or less. It's that easy, and they're safe and fast withdrawals. So again, promo code Locked On. Get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. The New York Mets play the Chicago White Sox again, 7:10 Eastern Time tonight. Catch every pitch. Mets hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Mets. On yesterday's show, I spoke about the trade deadline. So it was all about deadline assets, what the Mets have, what they could get for it. Definitely check out that show if you missed it. But I also, because it was all about the deadline, failed to speak about this series. So we didn't have any series preview. Just watch the first game. It was an adventure, but the Mets got a win. Now you got 2 more, and you're trying to build some momentum. You're trying to get back into this race. And quite honestly, when you play a team as bad as the White Sox, you got to sweep them. If you want to go where you're trying to this year, when you have a Red Sox team that's tough to play at Fenway coming up over the weekend, you got to play the Yankees next week. This is the series that you need to capitalize on, because as much as the Nationals are a good matchup coming up soon, that's so close to the deadline that how much do you read into it? So this is the time to stack some wins. And the offense came out with enough force tonight that you'd think that type of a run could happen. And I did at one point promise a little bit of Alvarez talk. So let's get into that, because I failed to mention in the last segment there. His season has been one of peaks and valleys. He wasn't good in April when he first came up. In May, he was unbelievable. He had 7 home runs, 17 runs driven in, hit 292, got on base at a 363 clip, slugged at a 667 clip. Do the math on that. That gets you to an OPS over 1,000. He was awesome. June, he went back down and he struggled. He hit 151, got on base at a 205 clip, 329 slug, hit 4 home runs. Well, calendar turned to July, and Francisco Alvarez has gone on another home run tear, which is really, really impressive to see him be able to do at the big league level. He hit 5 home runs in the first 7 games this month, and he just had a 2 home run game. So now he's got 7 home runs on the month in 38 at-bats, 14 hits. He's in 368, 442 on base, 921 slug. Obviously, those numbers are going to come down at some point this month, but he's on a tear, and who knows? He's the type of guy that actually could hit 10 home runs in a month, and it wouldn't surprise me. On this team currently, it's 2 guys I'd say that about. It's Alvarez and Alonso. So awesome to see him be this standout rookie. And regardless of what happens this season, I'd be hard-pressed when we're looking back on it when it's in November to think that Alvarez isn't the best thing that came out of this season. It's a statement of fact at this point with the way he's played. But getting back to this series, you need the pitchers that you have going the next 2 days to step up big time. And it's Justin Verlander, first things first, going up against Touki Toussaint, and then it's Jose Quintana versus Michael Kopech. And some similarities on the White Sox side with those 2 guys, Touki and Kopech being young starting pitchers that still haven't really found it entirely at the big league level, haven't found that consistency. Guys that on a given start can carve you, and that's something I'm nervous about here with this Mets lineup that can go so hot and cold. And guys that also you could probably force out of the game early and get into the underbelly of that White Sox bullpen, which this Mets team really has to do. And ideally, You could avoid all of your high leverage guys tomorrow. You can get another offensive explosion. You can get Justin Verlander giving you 7 strong, and you can have Drew Smith or maybe even David Peterson close out a game for you. That would be the ideal blueprint. You get a series win, and then Jose Quintana starts gravy, because Jose Quintana winning you a series in that third game, it would be a fantastic sign for this Mets team, and he's certainly capable, but I am not so sure what version of Jose Quintana you are going to get this year. I just don't know. Now, you look at his career, start off the White Sox, ironically enough, who's going to make his Mets debut against, and he had 4 seasons where he threw over 200 innings, so he was one of the most dependable starting pitchers in baseball. Traded to the Cubs in 2017, was good for the Cubs that year, 3.74 ERA. But 2018, his ERA ended up over 4 at 4.03. 2019, it was at 4.68. That's where he entered his 30s. 2020, didn't pitch much, only 10 innings. 2021, started with the Angels, ended up with the Giants, didn't pitch great, either stop, ended up in the bullpen for a little bit with the Angels, and ERA in the season was 6.43. Last year was the big bounce back. He found a team that would put him in the rotation and throw him every 5th day. It was the Pirates. He went out, started the year, 20 starts, 103 innings, 3.50 ERA, as dependable starting pitcher as you could find. Flipped at the deadline to the Cardinals and hit another gear. Pitched to a 2.01 ERA in front of a really good defense. That was in 12 starts, 62 2/3. Started a wild card playoff game for them. I don't know if you're going to get 2.01 ERA. Quintana, I don't know if you're going to get a 3.50 ERA. Carlos Carrasco had a similar situation in 2021, his first year with the Mets, where didn't make his debut until it might have been August. If not August, it was July. Kind of forced himself back a little bit quicker, which I think Quintana at least has built himself up properly here. He got a lot of time. He came back in the middle of June. He worked himself up to 78 pitches. So I think in that sense he's ready. But his last start, he went 4 1/3 in AAA, gave up 4 hits, 5 earned runs, walked 3. Not necessarily a sign of great things to come. So we'll see. We'll see what he looks like. I just would not count on Jose Quintana to come in here and be the guy that you signed him to be, honestly. Coming off the injury, pitching in a tough environment, and under circumstances of a really rough season. Sometimes guys try to do too much, and I don't know what version you're going to get. So to me, that just makes it even more important for the New York Mets to get a victory with Justin Verlander on the mound. Hopefully that'll carry over for them, and they can win a game and maintain some momentum, and maybe they play great behind Quintana on Thursday. So we'll see exactly how all of this shakes out. That's going to be all, though, for today's edition. Locked On Mets for all you everydayers. Make sure you follow, rate, and review. This week, I will be finally breaking down the MLB draft. Not sure if we're going to release that on the Thursday show or the Friday show, or maybe some little bit of both. I might break it up a little bit, but I do have a guest lined up. So it's going to be good to finally talk about the draft. So make sure you are locked into all the different channels. Follow me on Twitter, Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. And if you want to catch every pitch of the Mets hometown broadcast, you can do so SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Mets.